Hey everybody, this is Scott Mann, CEO and founder of the Stability Institute, where we broker knowledge and connect stability professionals all over the world who are working on tough stability problems. And I'd like to thank you for dialing into another one of our video topics. And today I'm actually, well, first of all, yep, I'm in a suit and tie. Don't adjust your television or your iDevice. I'm actually wearing a suit and tie. Don't get used to it. But I'm actually in Washington, D.C., for the Rebuild Afghanistan Summit, where we've got a lot of folks here looking at opportunities and challenges related to long-term stability in Afghanistan after the withdrawal of U.S. forces is complete in 2014. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today in this video really is related to that, and it's about how we train and prepare as a community. You know, in the last few years, and it really started with the Village Stability Program. We all started training together in an environment called Academic Week, and U.S. Special Ops Command sponsored this thing, but really the credit for this goes to a young major named Ed Crute from 3rd Special Forces Group, and a lot of his guys at 3rd Special Forces Group, as well as the commander then, Colonel Mark Schwartz, now General Mark Schwartz. But a lot of work went into this notion that we were asking guys to move into these rural areas, these local areas, and address some very complex problems, and we really weren't giving them much in the way of pre-mission training except for shoot, move, and communicate. And the reality is most of the instability issues they were facing, the grievances that locals were dealing with and that were being frankly exploited by the extremists, had nothing to do with security. Security was symptomatic of those deeper societal problems. And so the first academic week was really designed to address those complex problems and, oh, by the way, to maybe reduce the amount of pickup teams, as we call them in U.S. basketball lingo, of guys and gals showing up in Afghanistan from various organizations and agencies who don't know each other, and then try to form a team on the job training while doing the job. And it's much tougher than coming together in a pre-mission training environment. So that was kind of the notion of that, and I'm really kind of sad to report that as part of the drawdown in Afghanistan, really SOCOM no longer is doing, it doesn't look like, going to do the academic week type sessions. And you know, that's understandable from a drawdown perspective, but I'm afraid that it's getting boxed up in the attic of coin interventions that were not that great. And the reality is this is one of the good ones. This is one of the things that we figured out very late in the war that we should probably sustain. And so I am happy to report to you that last week, while I was on the road traveling and teaching, I encountered and participated in 2 academic week sessions that were actually held at an organizational or a unit level. And I thought it was fantastic. One was a civil affairs unit on Fort Bragg that was preparing to go to East Africa for the first time. The other one, just a few days later, was being put on by a Marine Special Ops Battalion who was preparing to go back over to Afghanistan. But the point is that these organizations saw the utility in this type of approach, and they were running it at their level. They were funding it at their level, and they were putting it on at their level. And I think that's encouraging when we think about many of the complex challenges and rough places that we're going to work beyond Afghanistan and beyond 2014. The fact that we are at least starting to appreciate local realities means a lot. I mean, let's face it, in Afghanistan all the way up until 2009, we didn't have a clue what we were doing. We were coming at this thing from the top down. We were projecting Western biases into every aspect of stability, security, economic development, and governance. And we were really trying to project our own biases instead of understanding the local realities of Afghanistan at an urban and rural level, and then working within those realities. So I'm glad to see that that is at least starting to manifest in some other areas. And I encourage all of you as members of the Institute, no matter what your organization, whether you're private sector or public sector, I do hope that you'll consider some type of academic training venue, and academic's probably not even the right word, but looking at the holistic aspects of stability and the complexities that challenge these areas in the beginning, before you start your detailed preparation, is absolutely essential. And it will broaden your understanding and your knowledge about the right kinds of interventions, if any, that you should do in these areas. I'd like to make a few recommendations too for you, because I ran the first 4 SOCOM academic weeks, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot along the way. And I think by the end of those things, we were starting to make a difference. I mean, the feedback that we got from the post-training surveys from a pretty skeptical audience was usually very high, well above 95%. Extremely favorable. So the recommendations that I'm about to give you are for those of you who might have to put on an academic week of some kind in the future, and I hope that you'll consider these things if for nothing else for posterity. The first thing you want to do is take a hard look at the area that you're going to go to. And understand this area holistically, and then work kind of macro to micro, almost like a bullseye, as we used to call it in Special Forces. But doing an area study of where you're going, and I really think it's important to get on the ground, and that's the next step, is to identify the knowledge gaps of that area. And these are stability knowledge gaps, not just, hey, where is security bad? What do we need to work on in terms of security? What are the holistic aspects of stability, specifically the knowledge gaps that we don't know enough about? I would usually go over to the area in question, and I would travel around from the capital region and the urban area at the most senior task force levels, the country team, and I would work my way out into the interior wherever our guys and gals were operating, constantly asking questions about what the knowledge gaps were related to that level of work. When I got out to the tactical level, which is where many of you operate, or at the local level, I would ask these guys and gals simply, what have you learned on this rotation or this deployment that you wish you had had during your pre-mission training? And then I would follow it with, knowing that I'm about to go back and put this curriculum together, and what you tell me in the next few seconds will directly impact that curriculum. What would you recommend that I tee up for instruction in regards to security, economic development, governance, and information? And you're going to get some great information. Make good, copious notes of that. See if those folks are willing to come back over as subject matter experts when they're done and talk. That's some of the best instruction you can get, is peer-to-peer instruction, because frankly, there's no bullshit, and you're going to get the real deal on that. But also, while you're in country, ask them a follow-up question, and this is critical. What are the subject matter experts, or who are the subject matter experts that you've encountered that you would recommend I go talk to? And then, either in country or when you get back, go find the most relevant subject matter experts you can on that topic. So, for example, if you're in East Africa and they tell you that dispute resolution and tribal dynamics are two areas they wish they knew more about, the follow-up question is, okay, who have you been working with? Do you have any suggestions? And then if you don't, contact us at the Stability Institute and we'll help you find them. And it may be that you have to use video teleconference to bring those folks in because of the budget-constrained environment, or bring them in person. But the point is, find the most relevant subject matter experts that you can to do that. And when you reach out to those subject matter experts, I would highly recommend that you have a few criteria there. One is they really do need to be relevant to the problem set, and they need to understand it on a local level. And they need to be willing to work with our folks in the community, not just at academic week, but beyond. And these are not folks that are just a one and done, come in for an honorarium fee and are gone. Those are usually people that our practitioners are going to sniff out immediately and not have a lot of respect for. We want people that we can build relationships with, and you'll see why in just a second. Once you find those subject matter experts, then it's a matter of putting your curriculum together. The way that I did it, and I think works pretty well when you're looking at academic week, is consider campuses. Campuses like Security Campus, Economic Development Campus, and Governance Campus. And then nest your knowledge gaps inside of those campuses. Maybe have 2 or 3 or even 4. And then classes within those campuses that pertain to that, and the relevant subject matter experts, and then just rotate for the length of time of your academic training in a round robin kind of way. And it's going to give you a small group feel. It's going to give a good instructor to student ratio and build a lot of opportunity for interaction and discussion. And I just found that to be a good way to set it up, maybe with a plenary session on the front end where you hit the topics that are relevant to everybody. You do some video teleconferences with senior leaders in country, that kind of thing. And then the last couple of days are round robin using campuses. And then the final thing that I'll say about the structure of your academic training is have a good note taker. Have someone who's capturing all of the lessons and things that come out of your academic week. You're going to get a ton of information from the folks going through the training who have knowledge gaps that maybe you didn't scratch the itch enough on. I did hot washes at the end of each day with my instructors. We came together and we identified what the remaining gaps were, and that gives you a really good idea of what your follow-through should be after the academic week. which really takes me kind of to the wrap up here, is when your folks complete the academic training, whether it's a week, a day, 2 days, whatever, they're not going to leave that training ready to go to the country that they're going to go to. Hardly. What they are going to do is leave that training ready to start a deliberate pre-mission training that's going to be much more meaningful than if they had just rolled in on something without any kind of macro level overview. Now they're ready to start preparation. Now they're ready to consider security development and governance, not just security. Now they have relationships. They understand what the knowledge gaps are that maybe they didn't even consider. And, oh, by the way, they've met people who are subject matter experts on those areas, and they've got relationships with them now that they can connect on going into their pre-mission training or their pre-deployment training. And finally, they've had the opportunity to meet other practitioners, other operators who are going into the same area who they otherwise would not have met until they went onto the battlefield or to the troubled area. And finally, I would encourage you to make this event as diverse as you can. Don't just have groupthink. If you're military, I would recommend not just a bunch of military folks in there, because you're going to do the groupthink thing. You're going to talk about how screwed up everybody else is and how great you are, and you're not going to get a lot out of it. Invite the diversity. Invite the complexity. Dogs and cats living together. Bring USAID. Bring Department of State. Bring NGOs. Bring the people who are really the proponents for these hard subjects on stability, and let them talk to your operators and practitioners. You'll find that it helps build trust at a time when risk is low. And when you go into these places, you're going to be a lot less likely to get voted off the island by a proponent from another type of discipline like diplomacy or development who otherwise doesn't understand you. But because you spent time together in an academic setting, now they do. And you've built that relationship, and you can carry it forward into that more contentious, high-tension atmosphere. And so that was something that, for me, I think was really useful. I wish we had done it more, and I would recommend that you consider making these venues as diverse as you can. Invite the host nation. If you're going to talk about host nation partnership, if you're going to talk about host nation tribalism, invite experts from the ministries, from the locations where you're going to operate, from the military. Get it as diverse as you can, and you'll benefit from it on the back end, both in terms of relationship and content. I will tell you, in the years that we ran Academic Week, I have made more connections. I have run into captains and NCOs and USAID practitioners who have said to me, you know, I met you at Academic Week, or we met at Academic Week, and here's what we've done since then. I've seen this manifest with USAID and special operators working together at a level they would not have done in places like Peru and East Africa. The reality is our practitioners and operators understand the value of this type of training. Unfortunately, I don't know that all our senior leaders do, and maybe they never will. But at our community, at an informal level, we get this, and we need to keep doing it. We don't need permission to collaborate and to be catalysts and connectors. It's who we are, it's what we do, and this new complex battlefield and stability arena demands it. So I encourage you to do your own academic sessions. If I can help you in any way, contact us at the Institute, the Ask the Institute button, or email me directly. And I hope this in some way was helpful to you. I appreciate you dialing in. Until next time, this is Scott Mann, CEO and founder of the Stability Institute, and thanks for watching.